Let's go ahead and move into the picks and bans for game number 2. I do think, though, Tolly, if you're Mouse, there's plenty to build on from game 1. FrostiaK played lights out. I mean, that steal he had on the Gold Fury, right?
Oh
I mean, that can't happen. Blink made you look to steal it. No way.
Just a swag steal, walks away. Cool guys don't look at explosions, and FrostiaK was certainly cool in that regard. Also going for a very interesting build with a Hide of the Urchin for himself. A lot of these players are thinking about defensive options because it's not just also Paul with the Witchblade Hide of Urchin for FrostiaK, but if you look at the build from Dardez, he picked up the Runeforged Hammer at one point in the game, which gives you, 250 health as well, and there was a lot of CC to get that passive effect going for all of Mousesports.
Erlang Shen is going to be the first god that Mousesports picks up here. Not 100% convinced that this is going to FrostiaK, however, we have seen a lot coming out from this jungler on this Mouse roster. We've seen the Ratatoskr very early on. We've seen everything all the way up to the Kabrakan that he played yesterday, so I'm not 100% convinced this Erlang Shen is locked into a single role just yet.
Not this early on, though I wouldn't mind seeing it there. Frosty's played so well and Erlang's so good. Certainly give it over to him, but Trifecta prioritizing the Jingwei, even with the Freya banned out this time. That counter matchup is strong, but Jingwei is able to do similar things even with the Erlang.
It's very true. Going to be able to find knockups. Safe farming for Zapman whenever he wants it. I don't expect Paul to pilot this god in that mid lane. And honestly, speaking of the jungler for Mouse, I need to see FrostiaK step up a little bit more. He tried in that last game, just couldn't find Zapman in the beginning of the game. Going to try again on the Mercury. I almost wanted to see him bring out the Susanoo, but the fact that he's still going to go for the Mercury in game number 2 just goes to show his mentality. He's not really shaken by that early failure, I'd say, of the ganks.
And it sounds like you had the right eye on that one. With the Erlang Shen already here and now the Mercury, this Erlang very likely going to be going somewhere else. So you were the first one on this call. Where do you think then they're dropping this Erlang?
I would not be surprised if they gave that one over to Nika in the solo lane. We've seen some of the Erlang support, but in my opinion onto it, I just don't think that the Erlang support has enough to offer compared to if you throw him over into that solo lane. He's going to be able to get a little bit tankier in that solo lane, be able to use him to kind of help out, just really let him farm up.
I think if you stake the Erlang Shen in the support role, there's kill potential. You're just going to be able to hold W, hold the left click, and then try to find the kill onto Zapman, even at level 1, before the agility dash becomes a factor.
And the Discordia coming back in. Mouse definitely trusting in some of those picks, even though they weren't quite able to close it out. But this is what I was highlighting. If you're Mouse, you can feel like you were maybe 1 or 2 team fights away. It was really those defenses from Trifecta on the right-hand side that were so important. If Mouse feels like they can break through that this time and play very similar like they did early and mid, they should be okay.
I think draft-wise, both of those teams did very well. It just came down to the execution of it. You mentioned how there wasn't the double blink that we've seen time and time again coming through from Nika and Cherryo, and I think that's why it was allowed. There were so many bubbles on the side of Trifecta that nobody was breaking them.
And because of the lack of double blink, it allowed the RDO Terra in game number 1 from Trifecta to thrive defensively. But now with Nemesis being locked in for Trifecta, this allows Mousesports to ban away the Terra, not have to worry about Scary D having all this control.
Athena also being taken off the board as we move into the ban phase now in game number 2. And remember, it's all on the line for this one, Tolly. If Trifecta grab the win right here, that's it. They qualify to DreamHack Atlanta, and it's all over for Mouse. Whatever Mouse has in the tank, whatever pocket picks are left, there is nothing to hold them for. This is the moment.
Absolutely. Zapman not good enough to make Worlds, but Zapman is good enough to make Worlds. Drop your Zapman memes if Trifecta win this 2-0.
Still have not gotten Paul's pickup here for Trifecta. I wouldn't be surprised to see if Mouse takes some shots at it. With the Raijin was the first god I was thinking take away from him. It's a safe pick. You're good with it yourself, but you have your Discordia, and Raijin is a good matchup against the Discordia with that Raiju. So taking that one off the table, get away from Paul. But I mean, Paul still has this crazy weird god pool anyways.
That's true. Habwa, Kronos, Hell, Uller, potentially even. I'd almost want to see them still ban away this Terra. You can't allow the double RDO Terra combination. No. Game number 1, it was too difficult for Mousesports to really go in because of that.
And I've been critical of Scary D this tournament, but I think last game on that Terra, he looked great for them. He was a real nightmare with the Roots, the Earth and Furies well timed, and he was good bait. Mouse routinely would pull him in, and he was able to live through the damage.
He also had beads, and whenever he needed to, picked up, I believe, the 5th slotted Magai's Cloak. So making sure that Cherryo on the Ares was almost a non-factor. Mousesports didn't get enough of an early game lead to really prevent Trifecta from successfully defending the late game.
And we're seeing a little bit more Nemesis than to the point where it's surprising me a little bit here. Totally talk to you about what this Nemesis pick is doing for them here in the draft. Is it to try and make it easier to burst this Discordia right away, or what's this one about?
I mean, normally you're trying to pick Nemesis as the tank killer, right? Because of the passive, because of the Divine Judgment ultimate, removing so much protections and health, but there's not that much tankiness on the side of Mousesports draft quite yet. Only the Erlang Shen locked in, but a lot of it also comes down to the survivability of the Nemesis between the double dash, between the Nemesis shield, giving herself an extra half of a life.
Chunga, they got banned away instead of the Terra, and Terra will be picked up for Trifecta. A lot of players have really been paying respect to Scary D's Chunga, I think more than any player out here. We saw it a couple times banned away from Final K, but really Scary D is kind of one of the players who really put this goddess back on the map in the solo lane, and we really see that Mouse is paying attention to that. Utility
gods in the solo lane has never declined in favor, and Scary D is that big of a threat that he gets the Terra yet again in game number 2.
Kuzenbo, though, this is a great last pick, especially to the Jingwei and the Nemesis. A good chance to return a lot of damage, but we're still waiting on what is that Paul wants to grab up and what mid-mage. He might have to think a little bit differently about what he wants to do because of that Kuzenbo pick. You know, maybe you can't go into like an op wash or like a big mage damage because you're worried that you'll kill yourself.
Habwa. Just got to go Habwa, honestly, at the end of the day. Like, if you can knock up the Kuzenbo before the Spike Shells come out, before the Thorns come out, I think you're still in a good spot.
Backs against the wall, give Habwa to Paul. I mean, that's the name for Trifecta, and it's one of the gods that's just winning it for him. But instead, they're going for Zhang Kui. I can't recall too many times I've ever seen Paul pick up Zhang Kui, though.
Zhang Kui's not bad, though, honestly. No. Has plenty of damage over time. Very easy to guarantee the Ghost onto Discordia, despite having that little bit of a gap-closing ability. It's not too far to get away from the Ghost Man.
Yeah, I wonder if this is why they prioritized the Nemesis earlier in the draft to try and make it easier for the Zhang Kui. But they already had Erlang Mercury, so there's nothing to worry about on that front. Trifecta have another very strong team fighting composition, right? Between the Terra and the RDO, you're always going to have a ton of control. And now Zhang Kui with that huge AoE ultimate that he has as well.
I think Winged Blade is going to have to be a necessity for Mousesports to get away from this Nemesis.
100%. I mean, Wingblade is just... Wingblade is the anti-Nemesis item. She comes over, she hits you with Slice and Dice, you leave. She hits you with the ult first, you leave. That's just the name of the game with that item against this goddess. And there's a lot of mobility to get away from this Nemesis as well, but she can chase down very effectively.
And have they made enough adjustments here, J-Mac, for you to feel comfortable picking Mouse in this one? I mean, they've got the Kuzenbo in here now, the Shibalanki on their side, not allowing Trifecta to have that one. Is this enough adjustments, or is giving the RDO Terra back over too much?
I really think giving the RDO and the Terra back over to Trifecta may have just been a little bit of an oversight there by Mousesports. I don't know if it's quite enough for him. The draft looks a little bit more solid, but I mean, Trifecta, I can't argue against this draft.
Outside of the Nemesis specifically, I like Trifecta's draft. If Sanford Soccer doesn't start off with a bang, it's going to be feast or famine.
Well, this certainly could be it. Let's get right into the action. Trifecta up against Mouse. Game number 2. Let's get it underway.
Thank you so much, Analyst Desk, and into game 2 we go. My co-casters are F-Dot and Aggro, and you two were both of the opinion that this game is the most important. Well, Herp Derp, obviously, you give Trifecta win, but you guys think this is more important overall, right?
Absolutely. When it comes down to the science of the set, game number 1 kind of dictates the overall feel of the set, but not necessarily who's going to win.
You don't seem to... Go on.
I can end this right here. CLG blew out their opposition game 1 of every set they played. They also lost games 2 and 3 of every set they played.
Bang! Sure, but the difference is that you can make the adjustment if you can't answer the adjustment of the enemy team that's down. So if Mouse have made adjustments, right? If they win this game, then it's back to Trifecta to try and make the adjustments, which means they're in the power seat. Mouse have got to run the same thing pretty much similarly. In a 5s, I get it, boys, but in a 3, I'm still not sold. Left-hand side, Cherryo, though, round the back, and NeiruMah out of position a little bit, but it was a knock-up from Cherryo and not the pin in place. The damage is good. No horrific emblems used just yet.
Minions coming down the lane, I think, stop that horrific. If it was a little bit sooner or after the minion wave is dead, well, then I think we see a dead support. But Cherryo's going to pop his horrific here as he looks to the purple buff invade.
Zap, that's a lot of damage, Zap! Zap, what are you doing, Zap? Zap, run! Run! Goodness me, NeiruMah's horrific just saved his life. I don't think he's out, though.
Dardez might be able to try and chase him down, but why waste your time? Just go straight for the red buff. Zap is giving up an entire wave in that duo lane in order to try and steal this.
Squeaky bum time is what I'll call that. I'm not
Zap's
used that in a while, but this time round, I don't know. It's the tale of Game 1 versus Game 2 already. NeiruMah could fall too. Luckily enough, Sam's on the rotation, but that's left Paul open in the mid lane.
Bead's already used to the mid lane, Jean-Qui. Sam for Soccer is now running down BigManTingz. Paul gonna hit him with the burst, and it's a 1-for-1. I thought this was Conquest. Why are we watching Arena?
What is going on? I mean, just horrible decision-making left and right by each team. Zap gets the double decision-making, so he's in the lead in that regard so far. Sticking around on purple was a bad idea, and then going to red was an awful idea. And then BigManTingz and FrostiaK pushing up. Sure, you get Paul's beads, but you know Sam is on that left side. You had to have watched him cross over.
Speaking of Sam, though, love what he's doing straight after the fact, though. Gets the kill in the mid lane, goes in the jungle, red and purple invaded on Mouse's side of the map where possible. There's nothing else on the left-hand side now for Mousesports to take.
Everybody was busy, and so Sam for Soccer gets busy and just goes for the buffs, nice and clean, nothing too crazy. Sam for Soccer, I think, was the equilibrium. Everybody kind of running around doing crazy things, and Sam goes, it's all right, I got us another kill, calm down, I'll look for some farm.
Sam's kind of like in a first pick situation in rank there, where he's like, this is the teams I've got to deal with today. Let's have a look back at that respawn first blood, however, and how it all went down.
Here's how it went down. Zapman made a horrible decision to come towards this red. Best case scenario, if this red gets secured by Trifecta, Zap is still missing an entire minion wave that Dardez got. Worst case scenario, that happens. And Neil should count himself lucky that he didn't end up dying too.
For as good as Zap played in game number 1, we saw the other Zapman in this situation. And if I'm Trifecta, I am making sure that we just forget about that. Look, beginning of the game happened, forget it, try to get what you did in game number 1. Bottle that, do that again. That's all we need.
Main thing is, it's 1-to-1. The gold lead ever so slightly in Mouse's favor. Dardez with the extra first blood gold with 400. You can't discount it, but sometimes people do.
Sometimes it is one of those things that you end up losing sight of that in these games, but Sam getting a little lead. Normally, it's Mercury who's able to get those leads in the jungle because of his ability to power farm. Sam was able to neutralize that last game and stay ahead, even on a character like Hun Bats. At that rate, I anticipate him to do the same on this Nemesis.
It's more difficult to do it on the Monkey than it is to do it on the Nemesis. Nemesis a little bit more mobile by way of the double dash, and Slice and Dice is really a nice ability as well. It doesn't have the hang time that overhand smash does.
Not really spoke about the compositions just yet, boys, but one thing I'm a little bit concerned about is where is Mousesports' target going to be? Because tanky Jean-Qui, tanky Artio, tanky Terra, Nemesis, and Jing Wei who can escape.
So, as I was saying last game, Trifecta is just going all out. They're blinking in, they're killing everybody, and that's leaving Paul a little bit too far back. And the Mercury is then able to get into the back over top of that front line, and Paul is unprotected. So this time, Paul picks something that goes, okay, I'll just run at them with you. I'll just stay near you guys. We'll run at them together. And instead of the vertical sonic booms now that FrostiaK was using to immediately get onto Paul and then there was no one around him, FrostiaK has to totally change his teamfight angle now and go for these horizontal ones that'll hit multiple members of a surging forward Trifecta.
Exactly. That's the really big deal about Paul's selection, that Mouse have to change what they're doing. FrostiaK's no longer looking for those picks. He's looking to play almost utility and dissect the team fight so that it creates two separate situations. Paul wants everybody to group up, and FrostiaK's job now is to make sure that's not possible.
We'll see if Frosty's going to change the build-up from last game, if he's not going to go for the crit that he did in the last time, because it won't be quite as effective this time around against a Nemesis, whose Retribution Shield can shut that down pretty nicely against a Jean-Qui who won't care about it as much.
Love what we've seen in the duo lane from Mousesports there. Cherryo freezes the wave as a support player, makes Zapman overextend. Zap still being level 4, it makes him very awkward, really, Tom, to get involved in that.
Yeah, it's he's just not really able to join the party, and that's exactly what the enemy squad is looking for there in that situation. You were talking about builds before with respect to FrostiaK. I'm looking at Paul. He's got the little, the funny hat, as I like to call it. Where is Paul going with this Jean-Qui build?
Probably going to be a Celestial Legion helm. Could be a Dynasty Plate helmet, though it's been a long time since we've seen that item. It isn't too bad still. The only thing, I really like Celestial Legion helm against Mercury, who wants to hit you twice and kill you with those 2 hits. Celestial's great against that because it prevents that from happening. You get those high-end protections right off the bat. He's not been in a lot of pen anyways, so it'll be hard for him to chew through it. But then I look at the poison darts from Gibalanke, and if Dardez can land those onto Paul, then that Celestial Legion Helm will look really, really bad, really, really fast, because without the stack, Celestial Legion Helm is an item that no one should ever want to buy. It's the stacks that make it really worthwhile.
That's really where I was thinking about, especially when we just talked about how Paul's also changed his playstyle with this pick. He's going to be front and center. Those darts are going to hit him, and they're really going to shred that. It's up to Paul to make sure that he's not in way of Dardez and just able to kind of control the team fight with the Hunter away from him.
I honestly wouldn't even mind seeing Paul go for a blink of his own. I mean, Aegis Zhang Kui is insane because it gives you so much time in that ultimate. You just press the ult, ghosts are still coming out as you Aegis. But at the same time, I mean, if you get quad blink here on Trifecta, I don't know that Mouse will be able to disengage fast enough.
I'm sprint all the way for Zhang Kui. You see the horrific emblem across the way. They didn't have an option for that last time around. And a speedy ghost demon guy running at you with sprint, that's just as effective.
Left-hand half, Oracle's going to go the way of Mousesports here right now, but Paul does get a nice little card off on BigManTingz and keeping on FrostiaK. BigManTingz ults defensive and then gets ulted by FrostiaK. Cherryo, though, with a great ult to peel away Big Man. However, Zap with the airstrike did great work to allow Sam to go in and get the kill.
Sammy gets it almost blind and predicts where the players are going. Mouse not done. Dardez able to find some basics to chase Trifecta. Neil, what are you doing?
A little bit too far forward from NeiruMah there, but he will be able to escape with the dash from RTO. Nice little pick in the jungle.
They need to be careful, though. FrostiaK could have a sick angle here with that sonic boom. He should be able to just clear this red easily and still be able to get there in time should he choose to be.
No, I went for the red buff instead. Didn't end up working out. But at the end of the day, that was Trifecta showing their aggressiveness here once again.
You're still down a little bit of gold here, about 1,500. Certainly something that you've got to keep in mind. But those are the plays that Trifecta have got to look for. Mousesports, their composition, Frosty, BMT, and Dardez, these are late game characters. They're looking to really last all the way out there. Trifecta, I think they've got a nice mid-game.
Funny enough, though, Mouse had a hell of a lot of wards in the map when that gank went down, as I'm now looking at BigManTingz, who could be in trouble again. No ultimate this time available for either FrostiaK or BigManTingz there, but it'll be all okay for now on the gank.
Yo, those immunity frames out of the Discordia, that's going to be a big deal.
Clutch. That is the only way that BigManTingz lives in that situation, because a slow there could have chained in with Paul's slow. And I think BigManTingz would have fallen without use of that Aegis.
He's so dead. He's so dead there. And my eyes got the size of dinner plates when I just see him into the cooldown cloud. Such a smooth play, big man.
Going back to what I was saying, though, the ward coverage from Mouse, look how many there is on the map again right this second. I'm surprised they even got in a fight there in an awkward situation. But then again, the vision they've got is trying to control Trifecta.
Trifecta's composition isn't there to dazzle you with insane, sneaky plays. They are just bigger and beefier and do more damage than you. That is the entire game plan of Trifecta. You know, they aren't the young French national team or anything like that. They are just the beefy big boys running at you that you know what they're going to do, you just can't stop.
Did you say French because Dardez is on the team? The reason is the wards down then for the aggression from Mouse to be able to look for picks?
Yeah, so that Mouse has more opportunities to understand if there's going to be invades, because there should be some degree of pressure from times to Trifecta.
Man fight, Dardez 2-level lead in this situation, but Zap's crit shots there did a bit of damage with the splash. Dardez ain't more than bargained for. Darkest of Nights comes out. Zapman with the airstrike to end the Frenchman's dreams.
The 1v1 goes the way of the veteran, largely because the damage from Rising Jaguar just wasn't applied. Cherryo coming from behind, though. Zapman could be in trouble. Dodges the way, Sam in the wings.
Oh, I don't know if he's going to be able to do this at all. Zap's still trying to live. Jukes away from Cherryo. Cherryo gets slowed down as well. He needs this kill to make it worthwhile. Sonic boom from FrostiaK misses. Zapman stays alive, but now FrostiaK could get caught. No, he'll get back to safety.
Took a lot of people to avenge Dardez, but eventually Dardez was avenged. Zapman gets the solo kill after truly intentionally feeding on the red.
FrostiaK gonna collapse on Paul here. The ultimate's good. It's gonna double his protection, but he's still totally in trouble. 2 versus 1. You're done, son. Paul sits down.
He bought a lot of time, but it still wasn't enough.
FrostiaK just on the left side of the jungle. Paul can't be there. Paul has got to be more aware of where that jungler is. He saw Zap fall to the jungler. It's no surprise where FrostiaK can hit you from, and there's no ward coverage there on their own side of the map for Trifecta, on that entrance into mid.
Yeah.
No ward coverage at all, so that means that's an easy gank for FrostiaK.
3-3, then 10 minutes in this game. Mousesports have extended their lead a little bit more so here. It's about 2,500 gold at this point. And slowly but surely, Mouse are doing what they need to in the early game.
Dream scenario for the Europeans here. As I said, they have a late game composition, and if you're not going to be able to just bang helmets against Trifecta in the early game, they're able to. Well, exactly. But they're able to get piece by piece by piece. And now with a 3,000 gold lead, they are able to do that.
FrostiaK has gotten a serious lead for himself this game in the jungle. 2.5 levels up right now over Sam. He already has access to that blink, and that's why Mouse is grouping up right now. They should use this opportunity to play aggressive, specifically around this red.
This red, as you said, is about to spawn now, but Trifecta know about it too. FrostiaK on the way over from base as well. Tinks around the corner. Cherryo boxing with NeiruMah at the moment as Paul and Sam step up towards him, but Cherryo's still on his own. Luckily enough, he's still attacking Erlang Shen. NeiruMah eats some damage from BigManTingz, and Dardez with the poison. It's not enough. Meanwhile, the junglers are still boxing.
FrostiaK finds some damage over the top, and Dardez confirms the kill with a nice basic attack there. Mousesports find kill number 4, and they're still in the enemy jungle.
FrostiaK just ulted away from Zap just in time. Cherryo will use the turtle to escape too. Scary D makes the rotation, as does Nika, and he picks up Scary D and brings him straight towards Dardez.
Gonna force out the Terra ultimate. They're gonna force him all the way home. Left side, FrostiaK trying to deal with Zapman, who finds refuge under the tier 2 tower. That opens the map up wide.
Again, these red buff invades from Mouse have been so critical. Look at the level leads not only for FrostiaK, but BigManTingz as well, and that makes this fight really easy for Mouse. Cherryo did a great job. He zoned 3 and CC'd them and did relevant damage to them, while FrostiaK and Dardez and BigManTingz were focused on the red buff, and then that opened up the fight for Mousesports after the fact.
I don't know what it is about Cherryo. When he played the jungle, he refused to play he refused to play Assassins. He just played Guardians. Now he's in the support role. He refuses to play the Guardian, but he's doing it. This is kind of his job. He's falling into this sort of hybrid role, and I really like the way Mouse play around it.
Well, he has played this role before once upon a time. He's dipped into the jungle and back to the support role a couple of times on different teams. He seems to be like the one that likes to roam around, you know, and have the freedom.
You know, to make the basketball illusion, there's a swingman who plays 2 kind of positions at the same time. That's what I feel about Cherryo. He's always this hybrid jungle support player, no matter what his proper position is called.
FrostiaK has managed to catch Scary D, and that crit may have actually helped out a little bit more. Scary's still on the run. Sonic Boom's available. Boom goes the dynamite. FrostiaK solos down Scary D. Scary D just couldn't get away.
Frosty's doing the Mercury thing. This is dangerous. Level 14 right now for the jungler. Cherryo doing some damage to Paul. I don't think he's too great here.
Frosty is just huge, man. He is able to do everything he needs to do.
Cherryo, calm down, Sonny. A little bit aggressive. Oh, he gets the heal. Cherryo 2v1 in Sam for Soccer and Paul right now. That's a pretty good, considerable amount of damage for a support Erlang Shen.
Yeah, Erlang's a good character. Who,
really? I've not seen him this tournament. Tell me more.
He's good. He does the stuff that you want your god to do.
Paul brings the dot damage, and he's giving the Erlang Shen 21 protections. Just like, here you go. How's that feel, Erlang Shen? That's why Cherryo feels confident going into the 2 versus 1. He knows he's got the heal. He knows he has the support by way of the items. And Mouse, they know they got the Pyromancer.
On the back of the Gold Fury just earlier on off the last team fight. So that's 6,500 gold now. One quick question about the Erlang as well. Up against this Yonkui in the mid lane, when he attacks because of the pooch that's alongside him, is that 2 stacks off what Zhong has got in that health?
I believe it is, yeah. Sam for Soccer just insta-killed. It goes for the red buff, but at the same time, you cannot be anywhere near FrostiaK. He is way too fed to be able to fight. And here's what I don't understand. I mean, well, I'll get into it later. Paul, Beads were there just in case, but still rooted and still could end up falling.
Still alive for now. Cherryo looking for the pin. Won't be able to get the damage off, but now the whole squad of Mousesports is here. Tier 1's already dead on the right-hand side. Is Scary D still trying to farm up more gold in the coffers of Mouse, and they march on to a tier 2.
You want to talk about Snowball right now. Mousesports are hanging out in a blizzard. FrostiaK 15 right now. 3-0-3. Player damage 1, 2, and 3 are all Mousesports representatives.
So here's what I don't understand. FrostiaK's on every red, gets the invades going, initially because Mousesports gets the first red buff because Zapman plays it poorly. After that, though, he's always there. How is Scary D so far behind on the right-hand side? He's down a level and a half by himself. That's what set Sam and Paul very far behind. But FrostiaK found time to be in Trifecta side of the jungle on the right, and on the left, he got all the camps for himself.
This is why I argue for Talaria boots all the time. There's a mathematical equation that says that even though the passive for Mercury says that he gets power from his speed, that you still go Warrior Tabby. I don't care if you do a fraction of less damage. The speed boots have let him be omnipresent. He's been on the left side. Remember when he kills Paul in the mid lane? When he gets a kill on the left side lane? It's because he's moving so damn fast. He's the fastest guy in the game, and you give him 25% movement speed, he's Mr. Rotation.
I don't know about that. I think he kills Paul in the mid lane because Paul doesn't pay attention to where the enemy jungler is. He could have been moving at 2. He could have been the blob, and Paul still would have died.
This is a very EU game 2 here. This is reminiscent of what we've seen out of Energy. When they get angry, they kind of Hulk out. Seems like Mouse are doing the same sort of thing here.
I mean, right now, Zap's going to need some help. He dashes away, but Cherryo's lying in wait.
He really is, and there's the airstrike to force him away. NeiruMah trying to get back to the tier 1. Where's Zap going to land? He's going to land right on Cherryo. The juke back helps him, but FrostiaK will just punch him to claim his 4th life of the game.
No use of the relics. NeiruMah wishes he had the relics. 2 versus 1. He's going to be in trouble under the tower. See you later. Dardez finds kill number 4, 4-1-1, and he's got all the
Nika's
info.
looking to solo down Paul. Sam's going to try and help him out, but Kuza Bow is online. The reflect, the Aegis at the end from Paul kept him up.
My God, this is awful right now for Trifecta. I mean, yes, you're right. Mouse is hulking out. They're looking great. They're playing very, very clean. But Trifecta just had bad decision after bad decision that allowed Mouse to get a lead to the point where they look like they're unstoppable.
They never recover from the level 1, it seems like, doesn't it? It seems like that level 1 shenanigans that happened. Just ever since then, Mouse is like, we got this.
I mean, it shook Trifecta, no pun intended. The gold tier is going to go the way to Mousesports. This is, like I said, this is a classic snowball game. Season 5 has largely kind of changed the world of Smite so that 1 or 2 things going your direction do not dictate a victory. However, 19 and 20 things going in your direction before 10 minutes, yeah, you know what? Mousesports are going to have a hard time losing this game. It ain't over till the bucket sings.
Well,
I get that, but Mousesports are in the driver's seat, the passenger seat, the toll booth. They've got this in their hands.
12,000 gold advantage for Mouse, and experience at 13,002. The experience, normally I care more about gold, but experience at this stage of the game is massive.
FrostiaK looking for more now on that left-hand side. Zap able to escape just barely and didn't use a relic, so good patience there by Zap. FrostiaK just barely off the line.
That didn't really work out for him there, but he'll still be able to pick up the farm at least and relieve the pressure on that left-hand side. I guess all attention starts to turn towards the Fire Giant now.
Absolutely. You're late enough in the game, especially with the Mercury and how strong he is right now. He's almost 5 items deep, one of which is the height of the Urchin, which is interesting. But he's so far ahead that it's just going to make him unkillable.
I asked the question earlier on and I was like, who does Mouse go on in this comp that Trifecta have drafted?
Anybody.
Well, the answer is get the level lead, and it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, what we've seen in the early stages has been just NeiruMah. I understand he only has 1 death, but he's been the target focus. They're forcing him out. They're either getting the 1 kill or the totally TKO, and he's just not able to make an impact in the game. And Ardio's a character that needs to be surrounded in order to make the opposition feel her presence. And when you're this far behind, you can't be surrounded by anybody.
Trifecta with the smallest of victories, and at this point in a game like this, you're taking all of those that you can get, and that's that Nika was forced to teleport to the left side T2 instead of helping his team push a Phoenix, which Mouse likely could have gotten at this point. Instead they'll settle for the Pyromancer, but they've got plenty of items and level leads to push a Phoenix whatever they want.
Do you ever F6?
No. I don't think you ever F6 in this set, because this is still time for you to talk about what you're doing in the next game.
I thought you were asking aggro if he does not. I'm like, I've seen his stream. He's hitting it all day.
That's a much better question for me is, do I ever not F6? And that is a very rare occurrence.
I know a guy, Aggression, never F6s.
Well, he only sees F6s because the enemy team is so horrified that they had the unfortune of getting matched against him.
2.5 minutes left on this Fire Giant buff for Mousesports then. All the towers already down, and I like the idea of taking the towers and falling back, because now they've got the extra gold in their coffers. You can see that gold is still important towards Mouse as well. BigManTingz in the mid lane. expensive sort of build so far too, and he's still not very deep in it.
And that said, again, we identified sort of the thesis of each composition. Trifecta are mid-game, and then will find themselves in the late game. Mousesports have to tread water until the late game. They didn't tread water. They came out here and Michael Phelps it, and now we're here in the late game. This is where Mouse is supposed to dominate, and they have a lead.
Cherryo walking in towards Scary D. NeiruMah trying to zone him away for the time being. Walls drop down from Scary as Cherryo eats a bit of the poke damage. Nothing to speak about so far, but here goes Cherryo. Two-man taunt on Zap, gets his beads. Forced to dash away. Nika straight on number 2. Sonic boom to the back. They all want Zapman. Sam Fasaka's trying to help out. Scary D's ult did a lot of damage to make sure Frosty died, though.
The fact that Frosty died is huge. Left side burn is toasted. Scary D just getting Cherryo chewed out. Number 12. That's a dozen for Mousesports. 3 players on Trifecta are dead.
7 minutes ago, killing FrostiaK would have been enough to slow down Mouse, but by this time, the lead is on the entirety of Mouse.
Oh, no. Oh,
And
no.
now-
They're going right for it.
They can easily end this game unless Sam can make something happen. He tries to keep Dardez at bay, but it won't be good enough. Into the base go Mousesports. And from my look of this game, it's all about Xbalanque.
Xbalanque was a contributor. I'm looking at Mercury, and this is what I want to see at a Mousesports. This is business as usual. They needed to win this game. They won it quickly. They won it arguably easily, and now they're ready to go on to game 3.
I mean, that's really them looking at each other going, well, that should have been what we did in game 1, right?
Yeah, that's how it always goes. Look, for me, it's the duo lane. In game 1, Trifecta's duo lane played really well.
Yeah.
Zap was able to play these team fights well, played his laning phase well. Game 2, he makes a critical mistake. The rest of Trifecta doesn't do enough to pick him up. I also need more from Scary D. Scary has been a non-factor in too many of these fights.
Don't like Paul on Zhang. That's what I don't think he could really get involved in the game. It's not his fault, but I'd rather see him on something with a bit more range, bit more safety, that he can at least make an influence. Because every game they lose on Trifecta, he always does.
I'm split there. There's too many other variables right there, I think, to isolate Paul. I'm with Ryan. We saw the dual lane look fantastic in game number 1. Game number 2, it was on Mouse's side. FrostiaK spiraled out of control, and it all went down the rabbit hole.
Should be first pick X-Ball, right? Nice and easy.
I mean, that's the case, right? Oh, God, ranked game's going to be awful just like... Let's get over to the desk to break it down. It's 1-1. Mouse are back in it.
They absolutely are, and they're back in it in commanding fashion. What a dominant game 2 that was for Mouse. I mean, totally, was it just the snowball got rolling, or what happened?
A little bit. I think Zapman on the Jingwei got a little bit too far ahead of himself.
Yes.
We talked about Cherryo's aggression in that duo lane. Well, he definitely just hold down the mouse click button for that one.
And really that first blood was kind of what started the whole little process there by Zapman coming back in there on that Jingwei. You took over half of your life, you were down to 10%, and you're like, I'm going to walk back and try and save this red buff.
I mean, to be fair, he did heal himself up a little bit, but it just wasn't enough because Mousesports held on to their abilities in case they got contested on. They didn't use it right off the bat.
These post-game stats brought to you by Axis Replay. Always glad that we're able to have these, but this game really did get out of control in a hurry. And there were some picks in here that were questionable, right? The Zhang Kui in the middle lane, the Nemesis, neither one of these ever got to do much. It is hard to evaluate because the dual lane was such a lost cause right away, but it felt like they didn't have any safety valves either if things did get out of control.
Well, I think that Paul and the Zhang Kui with Sam's Nemesis, they got that early kill onto BigManTingz right after Zapman fell, but it just wasn't enough to really carry them any further after that point. It was all Mousesports, specifically on FrostiaK's Mercury, and Dardez had a remarkable game on this Xbalanque.
I think what came down to it was Mouse recognized who the 2 problem players were here. We need to shut down Paul, we need to shut down Sam, and they did just so. They kept Paul under tower constantly, weren't allowing him to get into these team fights, and they were constantly in Sam's jungle here. I mean, you can see they're at his back camps taking him down.
And also, you made a great point, shutting down those 2 specific players. No Freya for Paul this time around. The Zhang Kui, a totally different style. I thought for sure this last pick from Trifecta was going to be one of his staple go-to picks, specifically maybe even on the hot wall, but instead going for this longer duration team fighting god as the Zhang Kui. It's not really Trifecta style. They're more of like this all-in burst kind of composition, and that doesn't really fit in with the Zhang Kui.
Yeah, I liked that part of it, you know, like the Zhang Kui RDO Terra team fighting thing that they like to do. They love to bunker down and play defensive. They just never got that chance. I mean, they never got to farm this game. FrostiaK pulled up a chair, pitched a tent. I mean, he just was chilling in Zapman's lane, it felt like. Constantly was ganking him and doing the Merkle, like, from beyond the tier 1 tower. on point sometimes off, but he was causing so much trouble.
Which is impressive to see him still go in the Mercury in Game 2 after not being successful in some of the ganks in Game number 1, playing the Jing Wei. Zapman wasn't able to really get away this time around the same way he did on the Xbalanque, which is surprising considering that usually Jing Wei has a better time of escaping.
And then this is just a flex play here, going all the way up to the blue buff and
no need.
Soloing out the solo laner, ulting under the tower and just saying, yeah, you're mine. FrostiaK really showing up to play this game.
And still very reserved, not taunting there, because a lot of players, after finding a kill under that tier 2 tower, would certainly spend an extra second just to let them hear it about
I feel like the ult was the taunt. He probably could have killed her without her, but I don't know. FrostiaK having a good game here and absolutely deserving of it. And we talked about this before, right? FrostiaK is very consistently performing well for this Mousesports team. It's been Tingz and FrostiaK in particular that have been really impressive to me, and obviously Dardez in there too. But FrostiaK has stepped up in a huge way for the squad.
Season 5 Smite is not only about junglers, but the jungle mid combination. So
yes,
you think of FrostiaK, you think of BigManTingz. On the flip side, same can be said about Sam and Paul trying to make the impact for Trifecta. That last game, unfortunately, couldn't get the ball rolling. Zhonghui just too immobile for his own good in the early game.
So I think after that game, we might finally see the Mercury banned away by the side of Trifecta.
I could see that definitely being the case, but if you ban away the Mercury, now you're giving up potentially a Freya, potentially the Pele. Sanford Soccer is definitely going to want the Pele. I'm curious to see if Trifecta elect for first or second pick.
And it's these tertiary picks to me that are really strong. And I agree with you guys that the like meta bans are really important. But like the Kuzenbo, right? The HRX is those picks like coming in sort of right towards the end and disrupting everything your draft wants to do. Those picks have been so strong.
Kuzenbo is so obnoxious to deal with, and Trifecta will be that first pick opportunity. I think they might prioritize Zap's pick on the Xbalanque before a secondary ban phase, the same way they did in Game 1.